Hey, it's Cham from Chaminda Tanakun Limited. Today I'm going to talk about a very hot topic, which is selling and closing. Selling is you talking about the product. Closing is closing the sale. So when it comes to closing, the most important thing is your mindset. So when I say your mindset, let me explain what I mean by mindset. It has to be a positive mindset. In order for you to sell or close, you have to have a very positive mindset and you have to assume the close before the close happens. So how do you do that? Let me explain. When you try to explain to a client about your product or service and try to close a sale, what you're trying to do is you're trying to transfer your interest or your enthusiasm about your product. So you should be sold on your product before you can sell it to another person. So for you to convince anyone else, you should be convinced before you can convince anyone else. So what I mean by you should be convinced is about the offer, about the product features, about what you're offering, and about the results that the client gets. So if you're not convinced, you can't convince anyone else to buy your product. So that is one reason why people struggle to close and sell and get the money. Because end of the day, it doesn't matter how hard you work on your course or mastermind or your product or service. If you're not getting the money, then you're not making a sale, you're not generating any revenue from your business, and then it's gonna fail in the long run. You're not gonna succeed, you're not gonna win in the long run. For you to win in the long run, you have to win and the client has to win. That's when you can survive in the long run, and this is very important. So when I say you win and the client wins, what I mean by that is you need to have the product built in such a way that you're providing so much more value than what you're charging. So if you're providing £100 worth value, and if you're charging them £400 worth money, then they're gonna feel that energy that you're trying to transfer when you're trying to convince them. So this is why you need to make it so that it's so valuable and your client cannot deny the offer unless there is a specific reason. There are reasons why they wouldn't buy. There are genuine reasons, because maybe they don't have the money, they don't need it, they don't desire what you're selling, or it's not urgent. You're not putting any deadline to it, so they don't feel like they have to take it now, so they can postpone it, they can stall it. So these are the reasons why they would not buy right now. So you need to understand the client and make sure the client is a qualified client before you can even start selling the product, before even you explain about the product features, because that is the first thing you need to do, is qualify the client. When you qualify the client, you get to know about the client, if the client needs it and what the client needs. And then if you offer a product which can be personalized according to the client, then you can personalize it according to the client's requirements. So when you are personalizing and then when you're offering your product or service, you need to make sure what you're offering is worth much more than what you're charging. Then you genuinely want to convey that message to your client, and they will feel the energy. They will understand that you're trying to actually help them, so they will eventually buy the product. They will try it out. Don't get me wrong, there are clients who will come to you to get all the benefits and features and everything and pay nothing. There are clients who will come to you and purchase your product, pay for your product, and then after using your product for a few days or your features of your course or your mastermind or your services, they will say, no, I need the money back. There are customers like that. There are clients like that. Don't get me wrong. There are clients who come to you to use your free trial and they will say, I don't have the money. And they came knowing that they didn't have the money, and they came knowing that they're not going to pay. So they just came to get the benefits of the free trial. So there are clients like that. So I'm talking about the majority of the clients that qualify to buy your product and service and who would want to stay with you for a longer period of time. So these kind of clients, what you need to do is you need to understand your product really well, and secondly, you need to understand the client's requirements really well, and then you need to match your requirements of the client to your product features or services. So that is when you can close the sale. You need to make it convincing, but for you to convince them, you need to be convinced yourself. That is the most important thing in selling. So you need to understand your product features. You need to understand everything that the client can benefit from your product before you can even offer the product or service. Then you can convince them, and then you are happy, then you are in a positive mindset. You know the client needs it. You're not going to doubt anything about the product. You're not going to doubt anything about the features of the product. So you want to give it to them because you know they're going to benefit from it. It's like a client needs something so badly. For example, a client has a really bad back or a back pain, and you know a doctor who can sort it out within a week or two, and you know it's going to genuinely work, and it's worked for you, and you know for sure it's going to work. So then you will recommend that doctor to that client, knowing that it's going to work. And then when you are talking about the doctor, you are enthusiastic, you are conveying the message in such a positive manner, so the energy will be transferred to your client, and the client will understand that, and then client will try the doctor out straight away. So this is the same thing you need to do. First of all, when it comes to selling, you don't offer first because they don't know what you have to offer, and then you need to understand what they need before you offer anything. It's like a doctor understanding a patient. When a patient comes, the doctor is not going to prescribe anything. The doctor is going to ask questions. So like the doctor, you need to ask questions to identify, to diagnose what the problems are. Then the doctor will examine. The second thing you need to do is examine. So you can ask more questions and examine their scenario, their situation. So this is qualifying them, and then you prescribe in the third stage. So then in the third stage, what you do is you offer them, these are the benefits that you can get, this is what we have, and this is what we can serve you with. So would you like to try? And when it comes to closing, if you are so positive, it's about asking them, when would you like to start, kind of thing, rather than saying, would you want this or not? So the better way is to ask them, when would you like to start? Would you like to start today or tomorrow? Or would you like to start this week or next week? So you have assumed that they're going to start, and then you're going to it's called the assumed close, where you have assumed and you're talking about the benefits they get after they purchase the product, after they do the close. So now they are visualizing that they have purchased it, and then they are planning their future, their next week, their next month according to the purchase. So they're not worried about that. Another thing is, when it comes to selling, there is a negative mindset and a positive mindset, and how it works is you have to make sure when you are selling, you need to focus on what they get more than what you get. When you're buying, you need to focus on what you get more than what they get. Let me repeat it again. When you are selling, you need to focus on what they get. The problem with the negative people, or the losers, shall I say, is when you are selling, when they are selling, the negative people, what they try to do is, when they are selling, they think about what they get. They don't focus on the client. They don't think about what the client gets. They only focus on what they get and the revenue they get and what they do after that and things like that. So they are focusing on the money and the sale. They don't give a damn about the client. So that way they will lose the client and the money, both. Again, when you are buying, The negative person, if a negative person is buying, what they focus is on what the other person gets more than what they get. So they will be like, oh, I have to pay this much. They focus on more on what they lose and what the other person gets. So I have to pay this much and this guy is going to get this much. That's what they're going to focus on. They eventually lose because their focus is what if it doesn't work, is what they're focusing on. So they don't believe what they're purchasing. Even if they purchase something, they'll know, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? They don't think about what if it works. So on the other hand, the positive person or the winner or the person who's going to succeed is always, when they are selling, what their focus is on the client, what the client gets, the benefits the client gets, and they don't focus on the money. They focus far less on what they get, but they focus on what the client gets. So they are talking about what the client gets, the benefits the client gets, and the client can understand that, and the client is more than happy to pay. And on the other hand, the winner, the successful person, when they are buying, they don't care about what the other person gets. I don't care how much I have to pay if my problem is going to get sorted. So they are thinking about how can I get my problem sorted. So when you start thinking about that, thinking like that, you will succeed. But if you think, oh, what if I don't succeed? What if I lose this money? What will happen? Then you will end up losing because your focus is on the losing, because your focus is on spending the money and not happening what you're trying to do. So focus on what you can get, and focus when you are purchasing something, purchase thinking that it's going to work, believe that it's going to work, and put 100% on that, put the effort, put 100% effort on that, then it'll work, because things work if you believe it works. Most of these things work if you believe it works and if you make it work. But if you doubt it and if you suspect it, you're not going to put 100% effort onto it, and it's not going to work, and you're like, yeah, see, I told you it's not going to work. So it's a mindset thing. It's about believing in yourself. If you're going for a match, if you're playing, if you go to the match thinking that I think I'm going to lose this, you are going to end up losing anyway. But if you promise to yourself, I know I'm going to win, you're going to win. Even if you lose, you're going to think about, oh, I lost, yeah, but I played my game. But you gave the maximum. If you give the maximum, if it doesn't work, not that everything works and not that every game you play, well, you're going to win. But most of the time you're going to end up winning, because it's your mentality. On the other hand, when you are selling something, you have to make sure they get the benefits. You focus on them, what they can get, and they will win. And you have to make them convinced, and you are convinced already. So it is easier for you to convince them to buy your product or service, and they will win and you will win. In the long run, everyone wins and everything will happen the way you want it to happen. So this is very important when it comes to closing. You have to be positively, your mind has to be positive, and you have to believe in yourself and believe in your product. If your product or service doesn't offer the value that you're charging or more, then you have to change the offer. You either bring down the price, which is not recommended by me. I don't ever recommend you to bring the price down, but offer more value so that you are convinced and you are happy that they are getting enough value for the price they're paying. Then you know that they need it, you know that it's important, you know that it's valuable, and you can convey that very easily. Most of the time why people struggle to sell is they are in doubt themselves. They think, they say, if $2,000 is a lot of money, and in their head they're like, I know. So they think about what the other person is losing. They're focusing on what the other person is losing and what themselves are getting. So that is when they're in their mind, they're like, I know, but and they're trying to explain it, but kind of thing, but it's not going to work that way. But if you know that this is so valuable, they don't even hear that. When they say it's too much, they're going to talk about what is too much. Are you serious? Kind of thing. So they will talk about the product, the value, the benefits they get, and then they overcome that because of the value that they are providing, and it's going to be an easy game. If you know your product really well, if you are giving enough value, if you're giving plenty of value, then it's easier for you to sell. So the offer, creating the offer, making a very good offer is very important, and can be convinced. So for you to convince anyone else, you have to be convinced first. Take care, guys. Thank you.